Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Megan, and for today's video I will be going over my June reads. It is currently July 4th, so I'm trying hard to get this edited and posted before the end of the week, because we are in the first week of July. So for June, I honestly had a great reading month. I went on vacation in the first half of June, and I was reading a bunch of summer romances. I was sitting on the beach and I had a great time, and I just carried that into my reading when I got home. I read for the month of June. I didn't read a ton of books. I read 6 books in the month of June. So I think last time I posted was in April, I think. And May, you really didn't miss much. School was ending, I was in chaos over finals, and I think I literally read Funny Story, and that was all that I read. So you're not missing much from that, but Funny Story was a 5-star, if you're wondering. Anything from Emily Henry, I feel like it's an automatic 5-star. I've heard a lot of criticism against Funny Story, and I don't know why, because I loved Miles. I love, what's her name? Yeah, it's Daphne. I loved Miles, I love Daphne. I enjoyed everything about it. I gave it a 5-star, literally read it in a day. So that's what you missed for the month of April, or May, not April, May. So fast forwarding to the month of June. So I read 6 books, I read 1 fantasy, and then I read 5 romance books. So like I said, I finally read Throne of Glass. I have been putting this, Throne of Glass has been on my TBR for a year and a half, probably. I think I've actually owned the book for a year and I just never picked it up. Finally picked that up, and I will be completely honest with you. So only fantasy that I've really dove into is gonna be A Court of Thorns and Roses, that whole series. I ate that up. I thought it was incredible. It changed literally altered my brain chemistry when I read that. And I knew that Throne of Glass was going to be more fantasy. It's not going to be it's not romantasy to my understanding. So I started Throne of Glass, and I'll be honest with you, it took me 2 weeks to get through. I would read a little bit here and there, and I don't want to say it felt like a chore, but I just was not into it until page 200. And then by the time that that happened and I got to a certain point, probably halfway through the book, I was really sat and I finished it. I think by the time I reached halfway through the book, it was right before I was leaving to go to Florida, and instead of packing, I was let's read this book, and I finished it in one sitting. So I'm currently reading the second book, Crown of Midnight. But again, I took a break as of right now just because it is summer and I did want to read some romance, and that is just, I love fluffy romance books, things that don't require a lot of brain power. Yeah, brain power. So I did that for the month of June. So Throne of Glass was the first one. I rated that 4 stars. I'm hoping, I think I'm going to like the series, like I was just saying. I'm still very intimidated by it because the books are massive. I think after Assassin's Blade, they just they become bricks, and I'm very scared about the tandem read, and I think I'm going to do the tandem read, and maybe I'll record it. I'm trying to be more accountable of me recording while I'm reading. But yeah, it was a 4-star read for me. I did enjoy it. Like I said, it did take me a while to start enjoying it though. I think I just really needed to get into the story and learn about Celaena, what was going on with her, why she is this incredible assassin. I will say in the beginning of the book, when they just kept calling her an assassin, I was we get it, okay, she's literally an assassin, relax. But I guess that's who she is. That's when you become the country, or I don't know if the world is the right term, but the greatest assassin, I guess that just becomes your personality at that point. I did enjoy it, like I said, once I hit the halfway point. So it was a 4-star read for me. I am in the middle of Crown of Midnight now, but I am taking a break because I am very much in my romance era. So next up was, I read Summer Romance by Annabelle I don't know her name. time, I read Summer Romance. I didn't realize Summer Romance was a new release by her. So I felt ahead of the game, even though I was behind because I'd never heard of her before. I loved this book. I've never picked up one of her books before. I had seen people on YouTube and TikTok like recommend like Nora Goes Off Script, and then she has another one, Nora Goes Off Script and Same Time Next Summer. I devoured that book. Something that I really appreciated with that book is like how well everything was written, and I love smut just as much as the next person. Well, maybe not just as much as the next person. I don't mind it if it adds something to the plot, but like something I appreciated with her writing specifically is it was a very closed door. I read 2 of her books back to back. So yeah, so it's about a single mom. She ends up meeting this guy at a dog park. Turns out that the person in the dog park is her best friend's younger brother who like doesn't live in the same small town that they live in. What's her name? Ethan and Allie. I swear to God, I have like book amnesia. I read it and I'm like, great time, and then I forget. I think she's recently divorced. She's got like 1 or 2 kids. It was a short book. It was just like perfectly paced. On my Goodreads, I rated it a 4, but I would say it's probably a 4.5 just because it was very nicely paced. Only thing is like I didn't, like for me, when I think of 5-star, like I have to like go to bed, wake up thinking about it, think about it after for like a decent amount of time because I can't ever move on from anything at a normal speed. So definitely 4.5. Highly recommend her book. So I immediately had to go in and I had to pick up Nora Goes Off Script, which is definitely like really far up my alley. Anytime there's a celebrity involved, I am sat. It's basically about a woman who, again, is a single mom. She is a screenwriter, so she writes movies for Hallmark. So like the cheesy romance movies, she is someone who writes those. And she ends up writing a script, or like, I don't know if it's a book or if it's a script, whatever it is. I think it's a script about her experience of her divorce. It ends up getting picked up by a big company, and then like one of the biggest actors and actresses ends up playing like her and her ex-husband, and they end up filming in like basically like a guest house of her on her property to film like part of the movie. And the main actor there, he is like going through something and ends up like staying at her house for like a week or 2 weeks or something. It would be like, it would be like Glenn Powell, or I don't know. I would say Zac Efron like 10 years ago, like staying at your house like with your kids. Or like Ryan Reynolds staying at your house. It's really just about her like, you know, going off script, literally, and saying yes to this actor. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. I feel like I want to read the other book that she has, Same Time Next Summer, because it like two out of the 3 books that she has, I know that are pretty popular, I've enjoyed, and I feel like if I enjoy this 3rd book, it's giving like automatic buy when she releases a book. It was great. It was a short read. It's under 300 pages. So anyways, I read Nora Goes Off Script. I would say probably 4.5 as well. Again, enjoyed the story. I thought the plot was great. Anytime there's a movie star involved, I'm generally sat. Writing was great. Character development was great. I don't really love kids in books, but like in Summer Romance and then in Nora Goes Off Script, the kids were like hilarious. They were a big part of the book, and they didn't take away from the plot by any means, and I feel like they definitely like enriched the plot as well. I mean, they were funny. Anytime like a kid is funny in a book, I think it's hilarious. But moving on, for the 4th book I read was The Love Hypothesis. So I'm not going to go into too much detail because I am in the process of filming a like a reading vlog of like OG Book Talk books. But I will say that I did read The Love Hypothesis. I did enjoy it. I did rethink my life choices of should I go study STEM. I will say that. But I'm not going to go into any more detail about that or my rating because I'm going to save it for the other video. And then, out of a whim, So I read Flawless, the Chestnut Spring series. I read Flawless, I think, last year. Picked up Heartless, and I, like, didn't really love it. I think I read, like, 30% in. And I just, like, put it down and never really picked it back up. And I would just, like, randomly pick it up here and there if I didn't have anything else to do, like, in public or something. And I needed to, like, read a book. I would just randomly read, like, a chapter here and there. But I don't know why I was compelled to pick up Heartless again, and I had a great time. Yeah, and it started me binging the entire Chestnut Spring series. So I'm currently on the last book right now, but I did read Heartless and Powerless in the month of June. Let me just say, so again, Heartless started off kind of rough for me because I don't know why, I liked Willa, and anytime I think of Willa, and like whenever she was like talking or just when he would describe like what she looked like, I always thought of Kennedy Walsh. I think Kennedy Walsh the entire time. I love that she was like a little firecracker and just said whatever she thought. I noticed that in all of her books there is definitely an age gap that I caught on to after Heartless. But Heartless is about single dad, Cade, you know, grumpy sunshine. He ends up hiring Willa as a live-in nanny who is his brother Rhett's soon-to-be wife. It's her best friend. So she ends up living with Cade to take care of Luke, his like 6-year-old son. And so it's like grumpy sunshine, forced proximity trope. There is an age gap. I think he's like in his 30s and she's like 25 or something. I actually sat down and like actually read it. I loved everything about it. I thought it was funny. Willa is so funny. Luke is the little kid. He's hilarious. Again, I don't like kids in books because I think they're annoying, like in real life and in books, but if they're funny, I'm here for it. So I would give Heartless, I think I gave Heartless 4 stars. Because the first part of the book was like rough for me. Anytime that there's like a male POV and they just like over sexualize the female main character, it really gives me the ick. I'm like, there is more to her than just her body. So like that, I hated that part of the book. So that's why it definitely wasn't a 5-star, because that's all it felt like in the beginning, was just like him being obsessed with her body. And I'm like, there's literally more to her. And then, you know, that progresses, and I had a great time. Again, I'm not a harsh rater. If I had a good time, odds are I'm gonna recommend it to you. And then I read Powerless, which is a story of Jasper. So he's technically not an Eaton. He is Beau's best friend, one of the brothers. He's like a hockey player, plays for like the NHL, and he ends up, it's like a childhood friends to lovers, but like, so Sloane is like the main female character, and Sloane is cousins with the Eatons. Yeah, so she's the Eaton brothers' cousin, so they're not related. but they grew up together. They always like, you know, had a crush on each other, never said anything about it. And then I think she like asks him to prom, like, but again, there is an age gap, again, not a huge one. I think he was, I don't know, I think in the books she was like 16 or 17 and he was 23 at the time, so there is somewhat of an age gap, and they're young, so it kind of makes a difference. It is their story of the insecurities that like he has growing up the way that he did, and growing up like an Eaton but not an Eaton, and how that like really messes with his head, and he's very closed off. And then you have Sloane, who like she grew up like really privileged, and she is like engaged to this other man, and he's just awful. He ends up basically like helping her. It's like runaway bride situation. Like if you cue like speak now forever hold your peace, and he's like interrupting, but he didn't even make it to the ceremony. He's like before the ceremony, he was like, let's get out of here, babe. And it was a 5-star read for me. Like, it was good from start to finish. When I tell you, I finished it in one sitting. I was kicking my feet. I was giggling and kicking my feet reading this. Yeah. I loved Powerless. I loved Jasper. I loved Sloane. And like, I feel like with Powerless, you get more, like I feel like with each book, you get more and more of like the family dynamic, and like you get to know the other characters because they each all have books, and seeing like the characters like progress or not really progress, but seeing all the characters in all the other books, like you just like develop a relationship with all of them. And Harvey doesn't get talked about enough. The father, he's hilarious. When he was making those jokes about like the kissing cousins and like the tail babies, I was cackling. It's so funny. No one talks about him enough. He's hilarious. I wish he had his own book. I would read it. I don't care that he's 55. I love him. Read this little quote. I'd lose over and over again. I'd sit on a cold roof. I'd dance in the rain. I'd go on a road trip and drink shitty beer and eat greasy food for Jasper. I'd do anything except actually tell him that. She is so me. I love that book so much. Yeah, so highly recommend. So I'm in the middle of, I read Reckless and now I'm in the middle of Hopeless right now. When I tell you, suddenly my type is cowboys. It is literally cowboys. Anyways, I gave Powerless 5 stars. Love Jasper, love Sloane. I love Rhett. So I love them all. Currently, I don't really love Beau, if I'm gonna be like completely honest. I am reading his book right now and it's starting to get a little bit better. The first like 20% though, I was like, this man I know he has PTSD, but Jesus Christ. Those are the books that I read for the month of June. Again, I read 6 books, 1 fantasy, 5 romance. Hopefully I said enough that I will make this a decent video. Anyways, I guess I can do like a quick, so I'm a mood reader for sure. I can set a TBR and odds are I will not read any of the books because I go based off of how I'm feeling. So I'm very much in my romance era. It's summer. That kind of just like comes with the territory, I feel like. So a few that like are on my radar for like the month of July. I'm also trying to catch up on my reading goal. I think I'm like 2 or 3 books behind from like my Goodreads goal. So I'm trying to catch up on that and maybe get a head start. So like I said, I'm in the middle of Hopeless right now. Honestly, I'll probably finish that in the next like day or 2. I would love to dive immediately into Wild Love by Elsie Silver. Just because I think it's a spinoff of Chestnut Springs, and I'm so deeply involved in Chestnut Springs right now. Like that is where my heart and my head is. I love everything about the series. It's giving a 5-star series for me. Maybe not each book individually 5 stars, but the entire series, I believe, it's giving 5 stars. I'm a little nervous with like Powerless just because like I really want this to end on a good note because I think it is the last book in the series. I just really want it to end well. But I'm like 30% into the book. So I have faith that like Elsie Silver will pull it together and I will have a good time. But I would love to read Wild Love by Elsie Silver. I'm just like going through like my recent want to reads. I would love to read a novel love story by the author who wrote 7 Year Split, and then she also read I think The Dead Romantics or something. She wrote The 7 Year Slip though. That is on my list that I would like to read, a novel love story. I do want to read I've not read the Addicted Calloway Sisters. I think that's what it's called, the Calloway Sisters series. Yeah, so like Addicted to You. Like I said, I'm really in like my romance like series era, I feel, with Chestnut Springs that really like, I just like really feel like I'm enjoying reading again. I definitely was going through like a slump and I was not in the mood to read, but I feel like I'm back in the groove and I'm like enjoying like every second of it, and I just like want to continue and keep like finding these books that are giving me this high that reading these books are, if that makes any sense. And then I do have Leather and Lark that I got in my last book of the month book. I've heard not great things though, I'll be honest. I've heard that it was kind of a letdown. We'll see. Again, I am not hard to please by any means. And then, when does this come out? Oh, that's September, never mind. I was like, Nothing Like the Movies What? I would also like to read Not in Love by Ellie Hazelwood. I think that's her new book as well. Again, I've heard like mixed reviews on that. Is it a YA? Or is it contemporary romance? I don't know. I don't know, but I would like to read Not in Love, and my coworker keeps telling me to read Say You Swear by Megan Brandy, so I might read that just so like I can talk about it with her. It's got like decent reviews on Goodreads, so this was like not a well thought out TBR. I actually wasn't planning on talking about this at all, so that's kind of like where I'm at. But for starters, like I said, I want to finish Powerless. I would love to read Wild Love, just because I don't want to leave Chestnut Springs completely. A novel love story. I would love to start the Addicted series, and then maybe Say You Swear. Those are on my radar as of right now. Like I said, I'm a mood reader, and it could change literally in an hour, but that's kind of where I'm at right now. And I'm having a great time, and if anyone has any book recommendations that they think I would enjoy based off of just like me loving contemporary romance, any like, you know, tips for reading the tandem read for Throne of Glass, I also would love, because I do want to finish Crown of Midnight by the end of July. It's not super high up on my list, but I am like in the middle of it, and I don't want to like forget everything, because I really believe that I have book amnesia, and I will be like, great book, and then I put it down and I forget everything about it. So it's a great quality to have. I honestly, like, if I'm gonna talk about it like this, I need to like make notes of like what it's about, because trying to describe summer romance was crazy, because I kept getting summer romance and Nora goes off script, because it's like same concept, single mother, a man comes into their lives, whatever. Great books though. I would also like to read, I'm just adding this now, the other book by her, Same Time Next Summer, I think is what it's called. I would love to pick that up. Again, it seems like her books are like really, this one I think is a little bit longer, 320 pages compared to like the 270 from the other books. But yeah, so anyways, this was all over the place. If you made it to the end, thank you so much for watching. Like I said, I am in the middle of filming a OG Book Talk books, like reading OG Book Talk books, and that's where the Love Hypothesis comes in. And I didn't want to give too much details away, because I do want to share it, save it for the other video that I have. And it is a reading vlog. I've never done a reading vlog. I've only like sat and talked in front of a camera. So I'm trying to like expand and be more consistent and actually like learn how to edit. So we'll see how that goes with this. But if you have any recommendations, any like tips or tricks on the tandem read for like Tower of Dawn, and I forget what the other one is, you know what I'm talking about, for Throne of Glass. But yeah, if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.